Between 2005 and today, America lost more than 3,300 newspapers. Most people call that a tragedy. One hedge fund called it an opportunity, and not the opportunity you'd guess. Because while everyone mourned the journalism, this fund noticed what the dying papers were sitting on. Printing plants and headquarters towers on some of the best land in every downtown in America. It built a machine to harvest it all, the cash, the buildings, even the pensions. And it made more money running dying newspapers than anyone makes running living ones. This is the story of the fund that figured out the paper was never the asset. Meet Randall Smith, Wall Street veteran, pioneer of what traders politely call distressed investing, and everyone else calls vulture investing. Buy what's dying cheap, extract what's left, move on. Smith was so good at it that back in 1991, the New York Times described his firm as profiting from other people's misery. In 2007, he founded Alden Global Capital. No website, no interviews, run from a Manhattan tower with his lieutenant, Heath Freeman. And after the 2008 crash, Alden went shopping in the most hated aisle in the market, newspapers. By 2020, Alden held stakes in some 200 papers. Then came the big one, Tribune. The Chicago Tribune, the New York Daily News, for $633 million. That made Alden America's second largest newspaper owner. Why would a vulture fund want newspapers everyone said were worthless? Because they weren't worthless. They were mispriced. If you were willing to do what no newspaper family ever would. Step 1. Buy distressed, at a few times cash flow. The industry's ad revenue had collapsed about 80%, from nearly $50 billion a year to under 10. Nobody else was bidding. Step 2. Cut. Not trimming, harvesting. Alden's newsrooms shrank at roughly twice the industry's own brutal pace. In union newsrooms, 71% of jobs vanished in 7 years. Here's the cold genius. Subscribers cancel slowly. Loyal readers keep paying for a thinning paper for years. Revenue outlives the product, the gap between the two is profit. How much profit? The last leaked financials showed a 17% operating margin, about $160 million in 1 year. The best margin in the newspaper business, earned by the company gutting it fastest. But cash flow was only half the machine. The other half is the part almost nobody noticed. Alden set up a real estate arm, 20 Lake Holdings, 1 floor away from its own offices. Its job? Sell the buildings. Newspaper headquarters were monuments, built downtown in the industry's imperial century. Printing plants sat on huge parcels near city centers and rail lines. 20 Lake's own sales sheet, more than 125 newspaper properties sold across 23 states, $230 million. The San Jose Mercury News Campus, $30.5 million sold to a computer maker. And Denver. Denver is the whole story in one city. The Denver Post won a Pulitzer covering the Aurora Theater shooting. Then its newsroom was cut, and cut again. And in 2018, the paper was evicted from the tower with its own name on it. The journalists were exiled to the printing plant out by the highway. The rebellion made national news. The Post's own editorial page demanded Alden sell the paper. Alden's answer was more cuts. The ending? The city of Denver itself bought the old Post Tower for $88.5 million. Then this June paid another $13.5 million in a lease settlement that includes taking the Denver Post sign off the building. And in 2013, the same year his newspapers endured round after round of layoffs, Randall Smith's LLCs quietly bought 16 Palm Beach properties. $57.2 million. Quick pause. If you want more stories about who actually owns things, subscribe. 1 every week. You might think that's the whole scheme. It goes 1 layer deeper. Federal investigators found Alden had parked $294 million of its newspaper employees' pension savings in its own funds in the Cayman Islands. The Labor Department concluded it likely violated federal pension law. The money was wound back, no penalty was ever announced. And here's the proof this was never about newspapers at all. In 2022, Alden's real estate arm bought Greyhound's 33 remaining bus terminals. Dying operator, loyal remaining customers, irreplaceable downtown land. Same math. The playbook doesn't care what the business is, only what it's sitting on. So what's the lesson? When a business is dying, its price falls toward zero, but its assets don't. Whoever arrives at that gap first with no sentiment collects the difference. Half of America's daily newspapers are now controlled by hedge funds and financial firms. More than 200 counties have no local news source at all. The market called that efficient. Your town's paper, your watchdog at the city council meeting, it was collateral. The land under the building was the point. 200 newspapers, 125 buildings sold, 16 Palm Beach mansions, and thousands of empty desks where reporters used to sit. The death of newspapers built a real estate empire because the paper was never the asset. Does your town still have a real local paper? And who owns it? Look it up, then tell me in the comments. The answer surprises almost everyone.